Hello everyone. This is Wonyoung Kim from a company called Crevisse Partners. It's great to be here, and I thought this would be a very casual sort of a panel speaking session. But it turns out that it's very academic. So I will try to be as precise as possible. But please do excuse me if I skip some of the slides and, speak casually. So I think the reason that I am here as an impact investor is, well, in one way to deliver how all these, impact investing and measurement is applied to actual reality of impact investing. And I think this is a very important topic to talk about today, because I was at one of the forum, at the GIN Forum, Global Impact Investor Network Forum in Amsterdam about 3 weeks ago, to speak about the topic on aligning and structuring the relationship to build an impact. So measuring impact is a very essence of impact investing. At the same time, it's quite complicated, and when it comes to reality, it's not that easy actually. So having said that, I will try to be as honest and clear about how we do at our company. And to begin with that, let me just give you some introduction about what our company does. So Crevisse is an impact investment company. So we say that we invest for climate action, we invest for good health and well-being, we invest for sustainable communities, and we invest for equality. So this is sort of a way to identify ourselves or distinguish ourselves from other investors, or maybe within the impact investment landscape itself. And to sum it up, we say that we invest for all. So we like to invest into companies that do have products and services that are not just for specific segments of the market or specific the type of people, but a product or services that can be used by anyone and everyone. So we say that we are entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, because we started out as entrepreneurs ourselves. We have 4 values doing impact investment, so we call it 4 I's. The first one is impactful, the second one is investable, the third one is innovative, and the fourth one is inclusive. So if you see these 4 values, I think it's quite clear what impactful and investable is. For innovative, we see this as an equivalent to technology. So we see that an innovation without the technology, it's really hard to make or get there. The fourth one, inclusive. So again, we like businesses that produce products or services that are inclusive, including everyone, not just. So even products or services that are for people with disabilities, it's better if those products or services can be used by people with no disabilities. Right? We say that we have 4 investment areas. So the first one is fintech, the second one is proptech, the third one agri-food tech, and fourth one care tech. So fintech, financial technology. Fintech is for not just for impact investors, but just for any general venture capitalists or investors. Fintech is a very promising area. If you look at the top impact investment AUMs that are being invested, one of those is financial services, financial technology. The second one is PropTech. PropTech is a property, real estate technology. So we like to look for companies that produces products and services for properties and real estates. This is also related to the top investment areas of the impact investment funds, which is housing in many cases. The third one is agri and food tech. Agriculture is a very foundation of our society. Food is also the foundation. So we like to look for agri and food tech companies. The fourth one, we call it care tech. So I don't know if this is a standard term that are used, but we use this term to describe technologies that are for seniors, that are for infants and young children, or for people with disabilities. So these 4 areas are where we focus. So how do we do our investment? We have 3 approaches. The first one is company building. So again, we started out as entrepreneurs ourselves. And when we started, this impact investing back in 2004, there wasn't impact investment ecosystem, or there weren't that many impact startups to invest into. So what we did is we actually co-built businesses together with entrepreneurs. So that's what we call company building. So using from our own principal investment, we did company building. And then the ecosystem sort of grew over time. And now we have a little bit more mature companies that are in the startup early stage. So now we have 4 accelerating programs that are going on in Seoul and in Indonesia and Vietnam. So accelerating programs are a great tool to assist the structure, discovering the deals, and also helping the entrepreneurs through certain curriculums. I think it's especially important for impact investment because, again, we are still not sufficient in terms of deal sourcing. So we need to find a lot of deals, and they mostly come from very early stages through different kind of incubation and accelerating programs. The next one is a venture fund. So I don't know if you know about the context in Korea. Since starting in 2018, there has been a big movement, not just from the private side, but also from the government side on this impact venture fund. So government has been deploying about $100 million of fund for impact. So that's $100 million 2018 and $100 million this year, and there's going to be another $100 million next year. Meaning by next year, there's going to be $300 million of impact fund waiting to invest into impact startup companies. So that's the impact venture fund. So we come from a very strong root as entrepreneurs doing company building up to the impact venture fund. And for impact venture fund, Crevisse is the first impact venture fund funded by the government. We started out as a co-GP. Now we are single GP for the fund. And we have almost done with our first fund. So moving on to fundraising for the next one. So all of these, how do we map this into the impact investment landscape? So if you see, many of the startup companies start from idea and seed stage, and they become a startup company, Series A, Series B, and C, and all the way to pre-IPO and IPO. So I think company building makes a lot of sense for very seed and early stage companies. For accelerating, they're sort of between early stages and growth stages, and then for impact venture fund, therefore beyond Series A round of investments. So as you can see, this did not develop at one point in time. It sort of developed over time along with the growth of the whole impact investment landscape and the maturity of social ventures or impact startup companies. So these are some of the numbers that we have. So we've been doing this for 17. So the companies that we invested, they've been doing their business for 17 years. We do investments mostly in 3 countries. We have 30 plus companies that we invested. The total market valuation of the companies is over $700 million. And we have over 20% IRR on our investments. There are 3 numbers that I want to show you. So as I said, there are 20 plus companies that we invested. Out of those 20 plus companies, there are 8 plus companies that are beyond startup rounds, meaning they are beyond Series A, which is about $10 million of valuation or somewhere around there. So we have exit records that are between multiple of 20 up to 50 for our very early stage companies. Okay, I brought this case of Terarosa from one of our portfolio company to give you a idea of how impact measurement or how social impact or social value is embodied into our whole investment process. So Terarosa is a coffee company, especially it's a specialty coffee company. So if you're a coffee lover, then I think you would know a company called Blue Bottle. So just like Blue Bottle, it's a Korean specialty coffee company. So we were doing due diligence on this company. And when we are doing the due diligence, along with the financial due diligence, what we do is social impact due diligence. So we have a third-party organizations that does this for us. And we work with one of the speakers here, Impact Square. We also work with Professor Shin on doing this. So we try to define the kind of impact that these companies are creating based on their impact value chain, and also come up with the key indicators. So that's once we have that impact due diligence, we take that into the contract. So when we are actually making an investment into a company, we are not just saying that, okay, you need to create an impact. We are saying that, okay, we want to have this clause in the contract saying that you need to report back to us about the impact, and that's your obligation. So it actually goes into the investment contracts or shareholders agreement. And in order to do that, we have multiple conversations with the investee company about if they agree with the indicators that we come up with, and also they agree with these clauses to put into the agreement. So I will give you a little bit more background on this company. So Terarosa is a specialty coffee company. They started back in 2002. So it's about, it's over 10 years running currently. They started, what's interesting is many of the startup companies do start in Seoul because they're most of the time based on tech companies, and a lot of the resources and capitals are here in Seoul. However, this company started in a place called Gangneung. It's a suburb place. So this company started in a place called Gangneung, and now this company makes over $30 million of revenue. They have about 14 retail shops. And what I like about this company is that they pursue two things. So the first one, based on the UN SDGs, is responsible consumption and production, which is UN SDGs 12. And another one is decent work and economic growth, which is UN SDGs 8. So if you see the impact value chain of this company, there are big two parts. Because it's a coffee business, they deal with the supply side. And also at the same time, they have a retail shops, which deals with the employment of the people. So a little bit more background on the coffee business. I'm sure there are better experts here than me, but this is the typical supply chain of coffee businesses. So most of the coffee beans, the green beans actually, they do come from many African countries. So there are farmers, there are cooperatives, second-level cooperatives. Those are the middlemen. Central exporting collector. There's a shipper, importer, etc., all the way to the retail shop and to your coffee. So we are drinking coffee today, right? So that's how you get your coffee. And what the problem in this supply chain is, many of the times, the farmers who are actually farming these coffee beans and collecting these coffee beans, they're not fairly paid of their coffee beans. I want to give you an example of one of the countries that this company is getting their coffee beans from. So it's a country in Africa called Rwanda. I haven't been there, but one of my colleagues has been there to actually see the site and see how the impact is being created. So Rwanda is one of the poorest countries in the world. And I don't know if you know about the history of Rwanda. I had to actually look it up myself before coming here. So there's been, in 1994, a huge Rwandan genocide. So what happened is that within 100 days, about 5 million people were killed, which accounts for 20% of the whole population. So after that Rwandan genocide, there's been a huge decline in the economic growth of the country, and the country was suffering. So one of the ways to boost up the economic growth in Rwanda is a coffee business. So there's a competition called Cup of Excellence, which is actually competition that is done for 11 countries that produce specialty coffee and to grade those coffees. So this is important thing to remember because there's Cup of Excellence competition, coffees are graded, and based on these grades, the coffee beans are bought at a better price from those farmers. So specialty coffee, Cup of Excellence is for specialty coffee competition. So how do we look at these social values in specifics? So, for example, for responsible consumption and production, there are two things that we see. So the first one is green bean purchase process innovation, meaning that this company, Terarosa, they don't have middlemen. They go to the farm directly and they make the contract with the farmers. So that way they can give a fair pay to those farmers of the coffee, the green beans they buy. And not only that, they do the coffee farmer training and they give the support. So basically they're increasing the incomes of those farmers, not just through like a supply chain, but also by helping them to produce a better quality coffees. Another thing is, as you know, all Koreans know that this year especially, we've had a lot of issues about indirect employment of franchises, right? So if you're a franchise, you don't do direct employment of the people, you do indirect employment, which means that they're not regular employees, they're based on a part-time or based on contracts. However, this company, they directly employ all their employees. So right now they have over 250 employees at their retail shops and also their factory. So overall, it's a very short time to explain about the company and the whole process of the coffee supply chain. But I hope you understand and get the glimpse of how impact investment applies impact measurement and the social values into the investment processes. All right, thank you very much.